Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blind Interview, a one-act play that is basically about two people at a table. One person thinks it's a job interview, the other person thinks it's a blind date. That is the concept. The story features two characters who are trying to communicate, so that really is about communication. They're not getting their point across because there's a fundamental misunderstanding. And that means the story is starting with the job interviewer entering to an open area where they think they're going to get a job interview, and they identify the wrong person. They sit down, and the other person who's waiting for a blind date to meet at the same location gets confused because the name is the same of the person. So that's where the conversation starts. It goes through ups and downs of a normal conversation, exploring the dynamics of conversations when you're really just talking about yourself because it's a job interview, and when you're actually trying to get to know each other. And then it's ending with a reveal. The climax is the reveal of the understanding of the fundamental problem, as well as then the two other characters who then basically talk over the scene to illuminate that the person who was supposed to be job interviewing as the employee was still waiting for a no-show, right? And that other person who was waiting to find the person for the date actually met someone else. So that's where the comedy should really come in. It is a comedy, but it also explores themes of communication, miscommunication, and examines dynamics such as gender, age, and race. Based on that, the play is actually gender blind, even though it is male-female written. It was always written in a way that it could be adjusted then if there were two women cast, two men, or even if a man and a woman were cast but in the other roles, so that it was a man on the blind date and the woman on the job interview. And based on that, and based on that actually changes some of the shifts. So the shifts in the text would be around gender dynamics, if it's a man and a woman, age, if it's two women, or two men, but usually two women, and then could, like with two men, it could be that race and age and culture or whatever is an issue. So these are the shifts that I kind of mapped out that could happen depending on who got cast. Now, it could also be, that's like a simplification because life is not a matrix. It is, sometimes it could be all three. It could be race, it could be age, it could be gender. In this case, with the casting choices, it will be woman-woman, and we will play up age dynamics, and if we see there's an easy way to put it in, a layer of race, if appropriate. This is a conversation, so even though I have written the script and I will rewrite it, we will have an opportunity to actually discuss what elements we may or may not want to play up as a team. So let's run down the actual cast specifically, characters and cast. So the first character specifically is Josephine. This is going to be played by our friend Honey, and she thinks it's a job interview. Anita is going to be played by Lisa, and she thinks it's a blind date. Then we have another Joe who is off stage, and this person we are probably going to use one of the directors to do the voice off stage. And they were extremely late for the date, but they found the love of their life, so things are great. And then Miss Feature is the other voice off stage, and she is the person who was waiting for the candidate for the job interview who never showed up. There is room, by the way, for the blocking and the staging to actually look at different ways. Originally, the voice off stage were considered like over voices, right? But I have been playing also with the idea of having them in different points on stage. But in fact, since the main issue is communication, it might be too distracting. So we're going to also discuss that. And so one of the other unusual things about this play is that you have three directors. Don't get scared. But the three directors are co-creating based on schedule, ideas, and also questions like this that I just brought up. Things about, do we want to use the space? Do we want to have more than the two people? Do we want the two off stage voices on stage? Do we want them miming in the back? Like, it could be cluttered. So this is going to be a discussion, and all those decisions are probably going to be made in the first week. But we want your input as the cast as well. So on Wednesday, when we meet online at 4 p.m., we will run through some of these things. Okay, and the last thing is that I guess what is really important here for the main two leads, Josephine and Anita, is that you have to think about three aspects of your performance. The first one is the vocal inflection and control. Are you communicating through your voice? And it's not 100%, and it's definitely not normal speaking everyday voice. It is somewhere in between. We have to modulate that. Because the key here is, if it is so clear that Anita is flirting, Josephine would normally get scared and appalled, and the reveal would happen too early. Or the audience would be like, why is Josephine not getting this? Right? So we do have to modulate that. Vocal inflection is really important, and it's important for both characters. It is more important for Anita, but it is almost equally as important with Josephine. With the two offstage voices, it is much easier. You have no need to, disrupt the meaning, so you can go full 100% on the so Miss Feature, for example, would be very businesslike, and the other Jo is basically over the moon giddy with finding the love of her life. One of the aspects could also be for the offstage voices, but we're still figuring this out, is that they match their intended partner who's on stage in their vibe, in their demeanor. So there could be, depending on what we do with those offstage voices, a lot of mirroring, but it's again a part of the discussion. And I think we'll come to that a little bit later in the process in the next week. So that's the first thing. So vocal inflection, very important and probably the most important. The second thing is body language. Body language and making sure that you are having the right body language, one, for your meaning and what you think you're doing, and two, for what your reaction is to the other parts of the conversation. And the last thing, okay, hold on. And then the third thing is facial expressions. What is your face doing during each line? Not just your line, but the other person's line. So I think voice is probably the most important, but body language and facial are really up there. All right, so I guess the last thing is the homework that you have to do. I will share the script tonight, the revised one, with the gender shifted and with some of the language changed. I am going to swap out the taller component to the age component. You might not know this if you hadn't read the whole script. It's fine. But I will do that now that there's two women. And then I do have some homework. It's not just like, please review the script and look at your lines, but I would really like you to map out for each of your lines to map out what you want to do with your voice. And you can, like, it may not change on every line, right? It may be the same thing, like professional, driven, surprised, but driven, like this kind of stuff. You might repeat, but I just want you to mark it up. Now, for the other two components I want you to map, you have to do it on every line, not just your own. And that's body language and facial expressions. Because this is, body language and facial expressions happen with reaction, but they also happen when you speak, right? So I want you to try to map that out too. And that is your choice. It's a deep reading of the text. Really analyze it. We will discuss it together. If you can do it before Wednesday, great. It's part of the prep work. So it would be great if you can, because then we can really dig into what is the final result. Then we can just start rehearsing. But we have time. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I think the other parts are that there'll be scheduling changes. We're just looking for, the calendar's really just looking for times of commonality when people can come together. And we may pull in people, 2 people to work out and then do with 2 people, etc. We might have one of those just for the directors. I think that is important. So then I guess the final comment really is about the director relationship here. We have a team of 3. It's Antonia, Anna, and Sam Bruin. All BCT fanatics, ranging from many, many years of experience to like 5 years experience, 3 years experience, etc. So, and what we're trying to figure out is, it's a lot about availability, but it's also about co-creation, and I'm really excited about that. Fundamentally, where you put your questions and your answers are going to be in the WhatsApp group where everybody's in it. But even though we co-create, it's more like what's happening is I'm leading and setting things up, but with participatory approach from the other 2 directors. And then it's really handed over to Sam and Anna in the end of February, most of March. So in terms of who has the final say when there's a directorial thing, it might be a little bit difficult for you, but we are going to make an effort to make it collaborative. But in the final couple of weeks, the final word will probably be Anna and Sam. But that's why we have everybody in the group. So you're not going to get confused or be pulled into multiple different directions. It's always going to be a conversation. So it's not really direction, but it's like, let's figure this out together. I love this play. I wrote it in a fever dream one day when I realized that the Fringe submissions were coming up. But I also wrote it because I had such a good experience last year in the way that the performers brought ideas to the production, that this time I wanted to kind of build a play that already had that in it. So, and I also wanted to really have this opportunity with other directors to really look at a work that I wrote and break it down and fit it back together again. And I think we have an amazing team that will do that. So I'm so pleased, and thank you for being with me on this journey.